later in life, I let that grit, that determination, that stick-to-itiveness stay with me.
Mm-hmm.
So when I went out there, I went to Chinatown. I went to the herbal shops in LA and I met with people. And there was 100 herbal shops and 99 of them would say no, would say, fuck off. You pay money, you get product.
Right.
But the one would say, okay, let's try it. I got nothing to lose. And they would give me the product. I didn't have the money to buy the machine that puts the herbs in the capsules.
Mm-hmm.
So I managed to get myself a girlfriend. Her dad was some stuffy superintendent, accountant, something. And he would leave through the front door. She would sneak me in through the back door. And we would be rolling up the herbs to look like capsules and putting them in the oven while her dad was out. And this was how I developed the prototypes. And eventually you sold a few, you got a little bit of money, you sold a few more, you got a little bit more money. I bought more equipment. I hired a factory, I hired several factories, and it grew like that. But none of it would have been possible if I would have taken one no for an answer, or 10 no's, or 100 no's. People often ask me, they're like, well, when do you know to quit? And I said, well, you got a baby, right? You know, baby. They're like, yeah. How many opportunities are you going to give your baby to walk before you give up on it? The answer is unlimited until the little fucker walks. I've got an 8-year-old, and that's the answer. When you look at your kid, you're like, yeah. And so you got to treat yourself the same way.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter how many people say no. I think Napoleon Hill would say every time a door closes, a window opens. You just got to know where your entry point is. And eventually somebody will say yes. And in those days, Jim, I was hungry, literally and figuratively. I was hungry to succeed, but I was also literally hungry. So somebody saying no to me had a very different connotation. That meant I wouldn't be able to eat. So when you go at things with that level of hunger, that level of determination, it's very different than a kid who's got a trust fund and can just go back to daddy the next day.
Well, it certainly brings out the grit in you when you're in those situations. What's interesting, the formula and the format that you're talking about applies across the board. People just don't get how simple it can be. That never give up, that persistent pursuit of what you're trying to do. When you get knocked down, get back up. And sometimes even successful people, I've got a client, he's a billionaire, he's 95 years old. He likes to be short on cash consistently just to force himself to try harder. I can't imagine doing that for, 80 plus years in business, always being short on cash, but he reinvested all, and then he's like, okay, let's start over again. But you realize that the formula is there, and if you can push yourself into those corners, you're going to succeed. I love your story. So you moved out of that business and then into the next. Did you use the same template and grit and determination to make that succeed?
The latter, yes. The former, no. So I did use the same grit and determination. That's something that's branded into your soul. You can never get rid of that. You can't wash that away.
Yeah.
Just the same way when people do really, really bad things, it becomes a part of you and you can't wash it away. So when you do really good things and you become a good person and you have that grit and that determination, it's a part of the fabric that makes up the person that you are. It's part of your soul. You can't wash that away. But the way I ran my first business was very unusual because I was so young and I made so much money. Mm-hmm. I had one philosophy that ruled all my philosophies, and that was suicide margins. I was making this stuff for 25 cents. I was selling it for $20. It was a cash business mostly. Mm-hmm. And duffel bag upon duffel bag was stuffed with cash, piled up in my office. And anytime I had a problem, I threw cash at it. Not the best system. People would steal from me, I would throw cash at it. I would have a business problem, I would throw cash at it. And as long as we were producing enough cash to throw at these problems, things seemed to go swimmingly. Mm-hmm. Now, in my latter businesses, in my second business and my third business and my current business, I use a little bit of a different strategy. We use upstream thinking. We use systems-based strategies. We bring in experts who have the knowledge that we don't have to advise so that We don't have to have those kinds of crazy margins. We don't have to depend on this insane, literal drug money margin to be able to stay alive and thrive. And it's much more intelligent. And these businesses, especially the one I'm in now, it's a much more boring business in retrospect. I'm not running around with rock stars and movie stars and having this quick burn life that I had back then. But I'm making a great amount of money quieter. And a mentor of mine taught me later, unfortunately, that money is best made quietly.
Yeah.
And it's really true. It's really true. You get to keep more of it that way.
Yeah, yeah, it's far more enjoyable as well. So good perspective. Let's talk about Amazon for a little bit. And my story about those books, I developed this web page for a business purpose, which that is consulting. But I realized we could monetize a portion of that because we're talking about books anyhow. And I think that's finding those little corners of revenue that a lot of people overlook or just assume they're not available out there. But through just a little bit of digging, especially when you start digging around Amazon, that there's so many opportunities there. And that's why I was happy to talk to you today about learning more what we can do on Amazon and monetizing it and where we can go from there.
Yeah. So there's a lot of opportunities on Amazon. And I feel one of the strongest ones is Amazon Seller Central. Bezos, sometime in 2008, 2009, around there, opened up the platform to third-party sellers. What's that mean? Well, most people think when you buy something on Amazon, you're buying it from Amazon. Wrong. There are over 5 million third-party sellers, mom and pops to big corporations, people like me and you that have products or sell other people's products through their own seller account. They pay Amazon a commission for being able to sell it in their store, but it's almost a consignment philosophy. And Amazon will pick, pack, and ship that product using their FBA, their Fulfillment by Amazon, the most advanced warehouses ever known to humanity for fulfillment of product, from getting product from point A to point Z, which is you, hence the Amazon logo, the little smile that goes from the A to the Z. And you can do that. You can start an Amazon business. Most people don't know this. And what we encourage people to do is to create products that bring value, but to not innovate. Innovation being the kiss of death. You leave innovation to the big companies, to the Apples and the Amazons and those companies of the world. And you focus on researching the market and telling a better story, finding where the vulnerabilities are in the market and capitalizing on those niches. So we niche things down, break it down as much as possible. We find that blue ocean where it's not oversaturated, but there's a vulnerability. Maybe the competitors aren't describing their product enough. Maybe they don't have enough influencers involved. Maybe they don't have an authority involved. Maybe they don't have social proof, reviews, or maybe their product just sucks and you can get a better one. Or maybe it's not bad, but they don't describe it well enough. They don't tell you about all the features and value that it brings. And maybe it has low value. So we find that leverage point where we could put just 3 grams of pressure and get out 300 ounces of pressure. And that's what we do.
It's funny. I'm listening to you talk about that and describe what you do and how you can do it better. And I'm thinking back on the products I've bought. You find the product and you're looking for that description to see if it fits your needs. And you keep looking and looking and looking because somebody hasn't done their job to describe it very well. Or take a picture of the back end of that electronic component where you're looking for a special adapter that it may or may not have. I mean, it makes so much sense that there's opportunity there where people have fallen short.
Yeah, you're not buying a product online. You're buying a story because you're not holding that thing in your hand anymore. You're not looking at the features and using them. You're just reading and watching what I'm telling you. And here's the big news. Nobody fucking believes you anymore. If you are the seller, if you are the company who's making this stuff, nobody believes you. That ship has long sailed of the big soda company knocking on your door and telling you that our sugar water is delicious and nutritious and you should be drinking it every day. People don't believe it anymore. So who do they believe? They believe people like me and you, Jim. They believe social proof. That's why reviews, ratings are so essential on Amazon.
Yeah.
And there's a very easy tactic. But again, guys, reach out to me. I'll give you the course for free, show you how to do this. darkzess@gmail.com, darkzess@gmail.com. But at the end of the day, Jim, it's really that, is that you have to know where you can apply pressure to achieve the result that you want. And online, it's really about being a better storyteller.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, because people aren't buying a product, they're hearing a story.
Well, and telling that story for today's generation, I chuckled a minute ago because my daughter, she's 8, she's always on YouTube, and Sugar Bear cereal came up from the 80s. You're from that generation probably, where they had Sugar
Sure.
Bear, right? They had these crazy, wacky commercials, but he says, delicious and nutritious Sugar Bear cereal. And my 8-year-old says, how is it nutritious if it's sugar? She didn't believe the story,
Good.
right?
Good.
She didn't believe the
Good.
story. If they had a
Yeah.
doctor talking about the nutritional value of sugar today, it might be a little bit more valuable. Of course, that wouldn't happen. But you're so right about the story and making sure you get it right for your audience to
Yeah,
convince them,
man.
right?
Yeah. I mean, the 80s were nuts. I mean, the stuff that we believed. You remember the frozen yogurt phase?
Oh, God.
People were working out and then going for like a gallon of frozen yogurt, which was just sugar.
Yeah, yeah, and spending $8 on it.
That was the health trend. We didn't know. They'd be like, oh, yeah, you got to eat pasta. Here's eat this bowl of carbo load, this bowl of pasta. And then when you're done with your workout, have this like bowl of yogurt with sugar.
Sugar. We put a little protein in there to call it good. So the course itself that you guys are teaching and providing for people, what can they expect? They dive in and they're going to come out next week making money, or obviously that's probably not the reality, but what can they expect?
No, I'm a proponent of getting rich slowly.
Yeah.
And it's optimal to do it as quickly as you possibly can. But in today's economy and in today's environment, what we see is a lot of internet gurus, a lot of online gurus, a lot of like, let me show you how to get rich quick and look at my Lamborghinis and look at my boats and all this stuff. And then you learn that all that's rented. It's all bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
The reality is people like yourself, people like me that have made money over time, that the actual exit could have happened fairly quickly. The actual acquisition of the money could have happened quickly. But how long did it take for you to get there? How many years? How much blood, sweat, and tears? How many times did you think you were going to fail? How many times did you think you were going to fall on your face? How many adversities did you have to overcome? There's no shortcut for hard work. Amazon business is like any other business. You got to get out there and you got to fail. You've got to try things that may or may not work. And it's not black and white. It's not fail or succeed. It's oftentimes varying shades of gray. So you might try something and succeed hugely and then double down on that thing only to find out that it doesn't scale and you fail. So what happens? Do you quit or do you continue? It's the people who continue, who are willing to do whatever it takes in order for them to succeed, that are the ones that make it. And so with Amazon, you start by opening up an Amazon account. We teach you how to do that in the 1-hour course, and we'll include that in the show notes. I hope you will too, of where you can get the 1-hour course for free. But you incorporate, you start a company, and then you start using the tools that we give you to spy the market. Where is the market weak? What's the market already buying? Don't innovate. Mm-hmm. Stop trying to reinvent the wheel. It is the most expensive thing in the world to have to educate the consumer on why they need your product. Find out what they already need and give them a better one, or tell them a better story about the one they're already buying and you sell it and make the money. That's what we teach you how to do. So you start an Amazon company, you start researching and spying the competition and seeing how much money they're making and why they're making that money. And then you see where you can bring value, and you come in with your own private label product. We teach you you get it made in China. I now sell millions and millions of dollars worth of product I never see. The product is made in China. It's shipped to Amazon. Amazon ships it to the end consumer. And we just see the money at the end of the day in our bank account. And that's the best way